I mean, for me, my faith is everything. It's my identity, and it's grown to become more of my identity than I had ever anticipated or planned or thought it would. You know, it was a couple of years, even before the pandemic, that I had my own sort of deeper conversion. And, you know, I was, you know, at the precipice of penury to an extent, and you know, I didn't know how I was going to continue forward. I was, as an actor, I was juggling 6 or 7 different side hustles. I hadn't worked in a few weeks. I'd done a lot of work doing voiceover, which is like, you know, recording voices for video games or commercials and things like that, but I wasn't working consistently. And I found myself at the point where, and some of you have heard me tell this story, but for those who haven't, so I was at a point in my life where I had exhausted all my financial resources. I couldn't get arrested for a catering job. And that was one of, like I said, 6 or 7 different jobs I was kind of juggling to try to make ends meet. And it was a Saturday morning in May, and I woke up and I was like $100 overdraft. I had 20 bucks in my pocket. I had enough food for the rest of the day, and that was it. I didn't know how I was going to pay rent the following week or 2 weeks, in addition to all the other bills that I had coming due. And so it brought me to this, you know, existential crisis. And I got on my knees, and there was my crucifix, and I just started pouring out my heart to God and saying, look, for years I've been asking that if there's something else that I should be doing, please show me what it is, because this is extremely difficult. And I wasn't a young man, you know, I wasn't in my 20s. I didn't just land in Los Angeles that year, fresh out of college. I'd been working 20 years already, and you know, inconsistently. And I said to God, so you've never given me any other indication that I should be doing something else, and now look at where I am. But I trust you. And so I'm going to surrender everything I have, my life, my will, how I'm going to eat. I'm going to give it all to you, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. You said your burden is easy and your yoke is light. Here's mine. And I left that morning with the 20 bucks I had in my pocket. I probably spent it on a really good breakfast. And for the first time, I actually felt like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but not my problem. I'll wait. And I honestly left it on the floor because I had no choice. Because if I had been left to my own designs to continue trying to manage and control my career and do everything I was supposed to do, the Lord helps those who help themselves. That's actually not in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. And I'm like, where is that page? Where is it? And so I got back that afternoon to my apartment and just, you know, wondering what's going to happen next, and really curious to see how God might show up, if he would show up. I knew he would show up. And I opened my mailbox, and there were 4 checks in the mail. And I said, oh, no. These aren't real. I was expecting, I knew there was going to be 50 bucks coming from, so one of the things that John alluded to, I produced and performed in a passion play with Maria Vargo from GK Chesterton Entertainment, who's outside. So go get the DVD, because you can see one of the passion plays that we staged called The Last Days. So we had performed that in the church I was going to, and I knew I had like a $50 reimbursement check from some makeup or something that I bought. So I knew there was that was coming my way. So I was like, there's the check, at least there's 50 bucks. But then there's these 3 other checks that I had no idea where they were from or what they were for. And one of them, As an actor, when you work as an actor on a show, on a TV show, typically, years later, you can still make a couple of bucks here and there from what they call residuals. So every time they show the program somewhere, anywhere in the world, an actor makes a little bit of money. It's kind of how he supports himself as a career because of the inconsistency of the lifestyle. And so one of those checks, I think, was a company that had paid out residuals, that hadn't paid out residuals in like 4 years. And so I set up my phone on my bed, and I just documented the moment, because I could not believe that after I had just wept and poured out my heart to God, saying, you got to do something because I got no more options, that here I was with 4 checks. And I opened each one of the checks. And every check was bigger than the one before it. And at the end of the day, I had like $1,100.
Beautiful story.
Sometimes actors need a moment. We're comfortable with silence. But not on a stage. And so, at that point, I realized that that was what God was calling me to do, is to completely surrender every aspect of my life, especially my career. Because I hadn't done that. I included him in other areas of my life, but not my career. I'm like, no, I got this guy. I'm in Hollywood. I know what's going on. He's like, yeah, okay. Let me know how that goes. 8 years in, that's where I was. And 3 months later, Dallas Jenkins called me to do 4 episodes of a series about Jesus, and didn't know where it was going to go. It was crowdfunded, and I had done 3 short films with him for his church's Good Friday service in the Midwest, previous 4 years. So when he called and said, you want to put the sandals back on? I said, absolutely. And here we are 4 years later. So.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in a future. This testimony is a profound look at the power of faith, of trust, surrender, and reliance upon God. I don't know about you, but in my life, I've had very similar type of experiences where you literally just have to leave everything in the hands of God because you have nothing to begin with, and you just have to allow Him to work his stuff, work his magic, I guess we could say. God always comes through. God never fails. God is a loving Father. All things work for the good of those who love God. And Jonathan Rumi in this clip clearly is displaying a love for God and a faith in God that leads to, as you can see from his testimony, a shocking story, a miraculous story, really, of how God, in his perfect timing and providence, brings about everything we need. God doesn't promise surplus. God promises sufficient sustenance for every single moment. The air that we breathe, the beat of our heart, all is sustained and is enough to provide vitality and life for us that we can never produce from ourselves or by ourselves. Everything comes from God. I hope you can take away this message knowing that the God who helped and worked in this story of Jonathan Rumi is the God that can work in your story. Maybe you don't have any financial resources. Maybe you are suffering. Maybe you're in great pain. God will come through, just as he did for Jonathan Rumi. He never fails. It is impossible for God to fail. So take that with you today and meditate upon the reality, the surest and truest fact of the universe, that God will come through for you if you place your faith in him. There's nothing greater than a God who can save and a person who believes that he can. All right, that's all I have for this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Remember that Christianity is Christ, and without him, there is no Christianity. See you in the next one. Peace.